You are not allowed to dance. The words slice through Manhattan's most exclusive charity gala like a death sentence. 12-year-old Lena Westbrook freezes mid-movement, her small arms dropping from their graceful reach toward the ceiling as her father's voice destroys everything. Around her 500 of New York's elite pause their champagne conversations to witness this unexpected breakdown. The Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom glitters with crystal and judgment as society photographers capture every moment of a child's public humiliation. Tonight's theme, Dance Tech: The Future Beyond Emotion. On stage, humanoid robots perform flawless choreography, while Kendra Ashcroft, draped in diamonds, announces to the crowd, "Technology eliminates human chaos from art. No more unpredictable outbursts." But Lena's spontaneous dance, arms reaching like desperate wings then pressed to her heart, captures something the machines never could. Raw grief. A daughter's love that refuses to be silenced. Damian Westbrook, CEO of a wellness empire, approaches his daughter like a man walking to his execution. The tremor in his hands betrays the composed businessman facade, as Lena's movements mirror exactly what her dead mother used to teach her. Something is very wrong with this picture. The poor child clearly needs immediate intervention, Kendra murmurs to the press, her smile never wavering. We've arranged the most exclusive treatment facility in Switzerland. She'll be safe there, away from triggers that cause these episodes. The crowd nods approvingly. Another troubled rich child getting help. How admirable of the stepmother to be. The plane leaves in 2 hours, Kendra adds quietly to Damian, her grip tightening on his arm. Everything is arranged. Once she's gone, we can focus on our future without these constant reminders. But in the shadows, someone sees what others miss. Talia Moore. A young black woman in a simple dress recognizes those movements. They're not random rebellion. They're a language, a desperate message from a child who's been silenced too long. Every gesture Lena performed held meaning. Reaching arms spoke of dreams, seeking flight hands to heart-honored love beyond death. This isn't mental illness. This is communication. The adults around Lena treat her like a problem to be solved, not a person to be heard. Talia's heart breaks as she watches security move toward the child. 3 years ago, her college friend Elena Westbrook died in what police called a tragic car accident. Elena had been a dance instructor who believed movement could heal trauma, who taught children that their stories mattered. The memory hits her like a wave. Elena laughing as she showed Talia their secret dance language. "If something ever happens to me," Elena had said, "this is how Lena will remember me." Through movement, love never dies. Lena's dance isn't random. It's mother's echo, the choreography Elena created for her daughter. Each movement tells a story. The reaching represents hope, the heart embrace holds love, the strong steps carry courage forward. This child isn't broken. She's trying to speak in the only language that feels true. As guards reach for Lena, Talia makes a decision that will change everything. "Sir." Talia approaches Damian as security escorts Lena away. Those weren't just dance moves. She was trying to tell you something important. Damian's cold eyes meet hers. "And you are exactly who to make observations about my family. Someone who knew your wife very well. Someone who understands what your daughter is desperately trying to say." The words hit Damian like lightning. Elena had a friend, someone who understood the strange movements she tried to teach Lena. Kendra's smile falters for just a moment. "Darling, we need to get Lena to the car immediately." But Talia steps closer, her voice urgent. "Elena didn't die in an accident. She was murdered. She was trying to protect your daughter from someone in this room." The ballroom spins around Damian. His wife was killed by someone he trusts. As security reaches for Lena, the little girl looks directly at Talia and mouths two words that change everything: "Help me." Behind Kendra's perfect smile, something cold and calculating flickers. The woman who's been planning this moment for 3 years realizes someone finally understands what the child has been trying to communicate. What deadly secret did Elena discover? And why does Kendra need Lena silenced forever? 2 days later, in a converted warehouse in Brooklyn's Sunset Park afternoon, light streams through tall windows, casting shadows across worn wooden floors. This is Talia Moore's world, where healing happens one movement at a time. The warehouse tells its story of transformation. Once a textile factory, now it breathes with life and possibility. Brick walls display vibrant murals by local teenagers showing dancers of every ethnicity. Mirrors salvaged from closed studios reflect the changing light. The sound system pieced together from donations fills the space with music that makes bodies want to move. Talia built echoes of movement 3 years ago with savings, a community loan, and determination born from understanding that art saves lives. The studio holds 30 students on busy days. Neighborhood kids who've faced loss trauma and systems that don't see their worth. Kids like Marcus, whose grandmother raised him on gospel music until she passed. Kids like Sophia, who hasn't spoken since witnessing violence, but communicates through movement. Kids like Jamal, whose anger transforms into beauty through dance. Today, Talia expects 16-year-old Jamal Reyes for his usual Wednesday afternoon session, but the shadow that appears in her doorway is much smaller, much more fragile, and carrying a pain that seems too heavy for such narrow shoulders to bear. "I know you," Lena says quietly, standing in the entrance with a worn purple backpack slung over one shoulder and determination written in every line of her small frame. Her voice carries Elena's cadence, that particular way of speaking that suggests hidden depths beneath surface simplicity, wisdom earned through experience rather than age. "You were Mom's friend from college. She had pictures of you two together at the spring dance showcase, the one where you both won awards for your collaborative piece about immigration and belonging." Talia's breath catches in her throat, like a bird suddenly caged. Up close, away from the ballroom's harsh lights and judgmental gazes, Lena looks exactly like Elena at 12. The same determined chin that jutted forward when she was nervous or preparing to fight for something she believed in, the same way of holding her shoulders when she was scared, but trying to be brave, the same dark eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom in a young face. It's like seeing a ghost, but a ghost with purpose, with mission, with Elena's unfinished business burning bright in her chest. "How did you get here, sweetheart? Does your father know where you are right now?" "Jamal showed me the subway route and the bus transfer from Manhattan. He said you teach kids like us." Lena's voice is barely above a whisper, but there's steel running through it, like rebar through concrete, the kind of quiet strength that Elena possessed and clearly passed to her daughter. "With kids who use dance to talk when regular words don't work anymore. Kids whose stories are too big and complicated for speaking out loud." Jamal emerges from behind a concrete pillar, where he's been stretching his long limbs, guilt and defiance warring across his 16-year-old face. He's tall for his age, with the lean build of a natural dancer and the wary eyes of someone who's learned not to trust easily or completely. "She was supposed to be on a plane to Switzerland tonight," he says, his voice carrying the weight of shared conspiracy. "That Ice Queen fiancée of her dad's already had the bags packed and the car waiting at the curb. Private jet, first-class treatment, straight to crazy town, if you know what I mean." "I'm not going," Lena says with simple finality, the kind of statement that brooks no argument or negotiation. Not until I finish what Mom started. Not until someone understands what she was trying to tell the world before they silenced her forever. The child, and despite everything she's endured, she is still very much a child, pulls out a small leather-bound notebook from her backpack. Its pages are filled with intricate sketches of dance positions, each movement carefully labeled with words like freedom, memory, hope, resistance, love that survives death, and courage inherited from mothers. Talia recognizes Elena's flowing handwriting in the margins, offering corrections and encouragement for something called Mother's Echo, a piece that Elena apparently developed specifically for her daughter to perform when words failed, and only movement could carry the necessary truth. Your mom created this entire choreography just for you. Lena nods her small fingers, tracing the drawings with the reverent care of someone handling a religious artifact. She said, if I ever felt lost, if I ever couldn't find the words to explain what was in my heart, I should dance the echo. It would bring her back, at least for a few minutes. It would let her love speak through me, even when she couldn't be there physically to say what needed saying. Her hands tremble slightly as she opens to a page marked "The Day Everything Changed" in Elena's careful handwriting. The sketches show a complex sequence, arms extended wide toward the sky, as if gathering stars, then pulled slowly and deliberately to the chest, followed by strong, grounded steps that seem to claim space and declare presence in a world that often tries to make people invisible. Each movement is annotated with emotional instructions written in Elena's distinctive hand. Reach for dreams that refuse to die. Hold love that transcends physical death. Step forward with inherited courage that no one can take away. That's exactly what you performed at the gala. Talia realizes recognition dawning like sunrise over water. You were calling for her, trying to bring her voice into that room full of people who've forgotten how to hear authentic emotion. I was calling for her. Lena confirms, her voice breaking slightly with the weight of 3 years of misunderstanding. But Dad heard something else entirely. He heard her dying again and again. He heard the accident. He heard everything he spent 3 years trying to forget, instead of everything she spent 12 years trying to teach me about love and strength and fighting for what matters. Jamal, who's been quietly stretching in the corner while keeping one eye on their conversation, looks up from his position on the floor. His expression carries the hard-won wisdom of someone who's learned that adults don't always protect children the way they promise to. My mom says grief makes people do crazy things, makes them see danger where there's only love, makes them hear endings where there should be beginnings. Maybe your dad isn't hearing your mom's message. Maybe he's hearing his own pain so loud he can't hear anything else. For the next hour, as Brooklyn light shifts from gold to amber, Talia watches amazed as Lena moves through Elena's choreography with ritual-like focus. Each gesture tells Elena's story. Reaching arms speak of dreams for freedom. Hands to heart honor unbroken love. Powerful steps represent strength Elena wanted Lena to carry. But something else is woven in making Talia's chest tighten with fear. The final sequence, a spin followed by sudden stop arms protecting the head, mirrors how Elena once described the car accident. As if Elena knew what was coming, leaving behind not just love, but warning. Lena, Talia says, gently kneeling to meet her eyes. Does your father know what these movements mean? Has anyone asked you to explain your story? He never asks. He just sees Mom dying again, stuck in some horrible movie that never ends. Lena's voice cracks with 3 years of misunderstanding. But I'm not dancing her death, Miss Talia. I'm dancing her life, her dreams, the love she left for me to carry. As if summoned by their conversation, Damien's voice booms from the entrance like thunder. Step away from my daughter immediately. He stands like an avenging angel in his Tom Ford suit, flanked by security guards who look like they bench press cars. Behind him materializes Kendra, her smile-cutting glass eyes cataloging evidence for future court proceedings. "Mr. Westbrook." Talia steps protectively forward. "She came here freely. Because you people filled her head with romantic ideas instead of getting professional help." Kendra's voice carries practiced authority. Her tone suggests, "You people" encompasses everyone who looks like Talia, everyone believing children should have voices. Troubled children from prominent families need structure, not artistic validation of instability. Troubled. Jamal stands suddenly looking older, dangerous. "The only trouble is you silencing a kid with more courage than most adults. My sister used to dance until people like your fiancé convinced her she wasn't the right type. Now she won't even listen to music." The words hit like blows. Even security guards shift uncomfortably. Kendra's composure flickers, revealing something cold beneath perfect makeup. "This conversation is over," Damien says, mechanically reaching for Lena's hand. "The plane leaves in 3 hours." But Lena doesn't move. She looks directly at her father with unflinching clarity. "Mom wrote me letters, Dad, before the accident. She knew something was wrong." The silence is deafening. Even Kendra's smile falters. "What kind of letters?" Talia asks quietly. Lena pulls out an envelope yellowed with age. "She said if anything happened, I should give these to someone who understood our language." Meanwhile, that morning, Damien had finally reviewed studio security footage. Watching his daughter dance, something shifted in his chest. For the first time in 3 years, he saw not the accident that took Elena, but the joy she tried to preserve. In a brief flashback, he remembered Elena teaching Lena by moonlight, their laughter filling their apartment. His daughter's rare smile in the footage made him question everything Kendra said about Lena's instability. What secret did Elena discover that made someone want her gone forever? That evening, in the cramped but warm privacy of Talia's small apartment above the studio, 3 unlikely conspirators huddle around a kitchen table scarred by years of use and covered with Elena's letters. The space smells like jasmine tea and hope, filled with furniture rescued from thrift stores and walls covered with photographs of children who have found their voices through movement. The apartment tells its own story of someone who chose purpose over profit, community over comfort. Jamal had convinced his mother to let him stay late, claiming it was for a community service project that could really help a kid in trouble. In a way, he wasn't lying. They were serving a community that had been silenced for too long, and they were definitely trying to help a kid who was in more trouble than most adults could imagine. "I can't read these without your father's permission," Talia says, though her hands hover over the sealed envelope like a moth drawn to flame. Every instinct she possesses is screaming that these papers contain answers to questions that have haunted her for 3 years. Explanations for the hollow look in Damien's eyes and the way Lena sometimes flinches when Kendra touches her shoulder. "He won't give it," Lena replies with the weary certainty of someone who has learned that love and permission don't always align, that sometimes protecting someone means making choices they won't initially understand. He burns everything that reminds him of her. All her clothes, her books, her music, her cooking recipes. Even her favorite coffee mug that said, "Dance like nobody's watching." But I hid these in my bedroom wall behind my mirror. I've been protecting them for 3 years, waiting for the right person to trust with Mom's truth. Jamal leans forward in his chair, his teenage urgency barely contained. What if she's right? What if there's something in there that explains why the Ice Queen wants her shipped off to Swiss boarding school? So desperately, rich people don't send kids away unless they're trying to hide something big. The envelope contains 3 letters, each dated in the weeks before Elena's death, each written in the careful handwriting of someone who knows she might not survive what she's about to reveal. The paper is good quality, expensive, the kind Elena splurged on for important occasions, but the words written on it are anything but celebratory. Talia's hands shake as she reads the first one aloud, her voice carrying Elena's words into the present like a message from beyond the grave. My dearest Lena, if you're reading this, it means the beautiful life we built together is in terrible danger. I've discovered things about the people your father trusts, things that break my heart and keep me awake at night, staring at the ceiling. Your father believes he's protecting our family by keeping certain friends close, by maintaining relationships with people who have power and influence in the city. But I fear one of them doesn't want what's best for our family. I fear someone sees you and me as obstacles to something they want very, very badly. I'm writing these letters because I love you more than my own life, and I need you to know the truth if something happens to me. You are strong, you are brave, and you are loved beyond measure. Never let anyone convince you otherwise. Mom knew, Lena whispers, tears starting to trace silver paths down her cheeks. She knew someone was planning to hurt us, and she tried to warn me. She tried to protect me even from beyond death. The second letter is more specific, more damning, the words of a woman who has done her research and prepared for the worst. I found financial documents in Kendra's purse during last night's dinner party at the Ashcroft estate on Long Island. She's been embezzling systematically from the children's dance programs her family sponsors. Over $2 million diverted to offshore accounts over the past 5 years. But worse than the theft is what I discovered about their selection criteria. She's been systematically excluding Black and Latino children from the scholarship programs, claiming they don't fit the aesthetic of classical training. When I confronted her privately in the ladies' room, she said some children are born to serve families like hers, not to compete with them for opportunities. She said art should elevate society's standards, not lower them to accommodate every little dreamer who thinks they deserve a chance. The racism is so casual, so deeply ingrained, it took my breath away. Jamal's face darkens with recognition and remembered pain. That's exactly why they rejected my sister from the summer intensive program. Not because she wasn't talented enough. She was better than half the white girls who got accepted. They rejected her because she wasn't white enough for their elevated standards of excellence. But it's the third letter that changes everything, that transforms their understanding of Elena's death from tragic accident to something far more sinister. Kendra threatened me today. She cornered me in the ladies' room at the charity luncheon and made it very clear what would happen if I expose what she's doing to those children and their families. She said if I take evidence to the authorities, she'll make sure you and Daddy lose everything we've worked for. She knows about some tax irregularities in Damien's business. Nothing illegal, but enough to destroy his reputation if presented the right way to the right people. She has connections throughout the city government, judges who owe her family favors, prosecutors who depend on Ashcroft donations for their campaign funds. But I can't stay silent while she hurts children, while she steals opportunities from kids who need them most. I'm taking my evidence to FBI agent Maria Santos tomorrow morning. Agent Santos specializes in corruption cases involving wealthy families. If something happens to me, you'll know it wasn't an accident. The dance I taught you, Mother's Echo, it's more than just movement, my darling. It's resistance. It's hope. It's the language of love that no one can silence, no matter how much power they think they have. The room falls silent except for the sound of Lena's quiet crying and the distant rumble of Brooklyn traffic below. The weight of Elena's words settles over them like a shroud, heavy with implications that none of them want to accept, but can no longer deny. She was going to the FBI the morning she died. Talia realizes, her voice barely above a whisper. The car accident wasn't an accident. Jamal finishes grimly, his teenage cynicism proving painfully accurate. Rich people don't leave loose ends. They don't let threats to their family empires just walk into federal buildings with evidence that could destroy everything they've built over generations. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echo in the stairwell outside, deliberate and official, the sound of authority approaching with predetermined purpose. Talia quickly gathers the letters, her movements sharp with sudden fear, as someone pounds on the door with the aggressive urgency of people accustomed to immediate compliance. Open up, Child Protective Services. Through the peephole, Talia sees two officers in official uniforms, flanked by a figure she recognizes from society pages and charity event photographs. Marcus Webb, Kendra's personal assistant. A thin man with calculating eyes and the reputation for handling the Ashcroft family's delicate situations with discretion and ruthless efficiency. Miss Moore. The lead officer calls through the door, his voice carrying the weary authority of someone who has done this too many times. We have reports of an unauthorized minor in your care. The child's legal guardian has filed paperwork for emergency custody transfer due to serious concerns about the minor's safety and psychological welfare. She's with her father. Talia calls back, stalling for time while her mind races through rapidly diminishing options. No, ma'am. Mr. Westbrook signed legal custody to Miss Ashcroft this afternoon at 3 p.m. Full guardianship pending their marriage next week. Miss Ashcroft has complete legal authority to determine the child's placement and treatment. Lena's face goes white as moonlight, all the blood draining away as the reality hits her like a physical blow. He gave me to her. He actually signed papers giving me away to the woman who killed my mother. Jamal is already moving with the quick efficiency of someone who has learned to navigate dangerous situations through necessity rather than choice, grabbing Lena's backpack and his own jacket. There's a fire escape out the back window. My cousin Diana lives 6 blocks from here in the projects. She'll hide us until we figure out what to do next. But before they can move toward the window, Kendra's voice drifts up from the street below, amplified by what sounds like a police megaphone, her tone carrying the false sweetness of poisoned honey. Lena, sweetheart, please come down safely. Uncle Marcus has brought some lovely people who want to meet you. They're from a very special school where you'll learn to be a proper young lady, where you'll discover how to channel your artistic impulses in more appropriate directions. No more dancing in public. No more embarrassing scenes that upset your father. Just quiet, dignified behavior suitable for a girl of your social position. She's not my uncle, Lena says fiercely, her voice carrying Elena's determination and her own growing understanding of the forces arrayed against her. And I'm not going to any school that teaches girls to be silent about injustice. Talia looks at this brave child, so much like her mother, so determined to honor Elena's legacy, even in the face of overwhelming power, and makes a decision that will change all their lives forever. She thinks of Elena's letters of 3 years of questions without answers, of a system that protects wealth over truth. Then we fight, she says simply. But first we need to get you somewhere safe while we figure out how to expose what really happened to your mother. As they move toward the fire escape, Lena clutches her mother's letters to her chest like a shield. Talia, there's something else. Something I didn't tell you before, because I wasn't sure you'd believe me. The day before Mom died, she made a video recording. She hid it in our old dance studio, the one in our apartment building's basement storage area. She said if anything happened to her, someone would need to see the truth with their own eyes. What kind of video? Proof of what Kendra really is. proof of what she did to my mother. But when Damien returns home that night, he makes a discovery that shatters his world like glass hitting concrete. Searching Lena's room for clues about where she might have gone, looking for any indication of her state of mind or plans, he finds something hidden behind her mirror. Not letters, but a journal. A journal written entirely in dance notation symbols that Elena taught her years ago. Opening the journal to a page marked, "The Day Mom Died." Damien sees his daughter has recreated the entire accident through dance movements, but not in the way he expected. The reaching arms represent Elena reaching for safety, yes, but also reaching toward the future she wanted for her family. The embrace gesture shows Lena trying to hold on to her mother's memory, but also embracing the love that continues to surround her. And the strong steps forward reveal how she's been trying to move past the trauma while carrying the best parts of Elena with her. Each symbol tells the story of that horrible day, but from a child's perspective of love rather than loss. Damien realizes with devastating clarity that he's been interpreting his daughter's grief through the lens of his own trauma, seeing death, where she was expressing life-hearing endings, where she was declaring that love continues. The journal reveals so much more. Lena has been documenting strange things about Kendra for months. Moments when her kindness slipped conversations that didn't add up, inconsistencies between her public face and private behavior. In a child's innocent observations, Damien sees a pattern of manipulation he was too grief-stricken to notice. Pages and pages of small handwriting detail how Kendra always changes the subject when Lena mentions Elena's work with underprivileged children. How she's dismissive of anyone who isn't wealthy or white. How she always has excuses for why certain kids can't participate in their charitable programs. How she once said that dance should be pure and not contaminated by politics or social causes. His phone buzzes with a text from Talia. "Your daughter is safe, but there's something about Elena's death you need to know. Your wife didn't die in an accident." How could he have been so blind to what was happening in his own home? The abandoned dance studio in the basement of Damien's luxury apartment building feels like a shrine to interrupted dreams and lost possibilities. 3 years of dust coat the mirrors like cobwebs, and Elena's ballet shoes still rest on the windowsill where she left them the morning she died, positioned as if she were planning to return any moment. The space holds the ghostly echo of music and laughter, the phantom presence of a woman who believed dance could heal the world, one child at a time. Talia, Lena, and Jamal slipped through the service entrance at midnight, using a key Lena kept hidden beneath a loose brick in the building's courtyard garden. The building's security is focused on the main entrances and the penthouse levels, leaving the basement utility areas unwatched. A blind spot Elena discovered years ago when she needed somewhere private to practice difficult choreography and think through complicated problems. "She used to bring me here when she needed to work through difficult pieces," Lena whispers, running her small fingers along the ballet bar Elena installed herself, bought secondhand, and mounted with determination and dollar store brackets. She said this was where her real dreams lived, away from judgment and expectations, and people who thought art should serve politics instead of hearts. She said this room held all the dances she hadn't choreographed yet, all the children she hadn't taught yet, all the healing she hadn't facilitated yet. While Jamal keeps watch at the small basement window, positioning himself to see anyone approaching the building through the courtyard, Talia helps Lena search for the hidden video camera. They check behind mirrors that reflect their movements like ghosts from another time inside old costume boxes, filled with the remnants of Elena's teaching career under loose floorboards that creak with the building settling and the weight of secrets. Maybe she changed her mind about recording anything, Talia suggests, gently, not wanting to destroy the child's hope, but needing to manage expectations. Maybe the danger felt too real, too immediate. No. Lena's voice carries Elena's stubborn determination, that particular quality that made her friend impossible to dissuade once she set her mind to something important. Mom never changed her mind about protecting people. She never gave up on difficult things just because they were dangerous. She used to say that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right even when you're terrified. That's when Lena notices something subtle about the old sound system Elena installed for their practice sessions. One of the speakers sits slightly askew, positioned differently than she remembers from her last visit to this sacred space. There's a clean rectangle in the dust, where it used to rest perfectly flush against the wall, suggesting recent movement. Behind the speaker, wrapped carefully in multiple layers of plastic bags and duct-taped to the wall's interior, with methodical precision, they find a small digital camera and several backup drives labeled with dates and locations. The video they discover is 18 minutes of Elena's final week alive, recorded in this same studio with the methodical precision of someone who knows she might not survive what she's about to reveal. In the recording, Elena sits in the exact spot where they found the camera, speaking directly to the lens with the calm authority of someone who has made peace with necessary truth-telling. If you're watching this, something has happened to me. Elena begins, her voice steady, despite the fear clearly visible in her eyes. And Kendra Ashcroft is responsible. What I'm about to show you represents 3 months of careful investigation documentation of crimes that go far beyond embezzlement and discrimination. This is about a family that has spent generations believing they have the right to determine who deserves opportunities and who deserves to be silenced. The footage that follows is devastating in its thoroughness and chilling in its implications. Elena has secretly recorded conversations using a pen camera she purchased online, photographed financial documents during social gatherings when people's guards were down, and compiled evidence of Kendra's systematic abuse of every charitable program the Ashcroft family touches. But the most damning evidence comes from a recording Elena made during what would be her final confrontation with Kendra just 2 days before her death. The audio quality is crystal clear, capturing every word of a conversation that reveals the true depth of Kendra's malice. "You think you can destroy my family's legacy?" Kendra's voice hisses through the camera's speakers with venom that makes all 3 listeners step back instinctively. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, Elena. I own half the city council and 3 appellate judges. My family has been protecting this city's cultural standards for 4 generations. Children like your precious scholarship recipients don't belong in our programs because they fundamentally lower the quality of what we're trying to achieve. Their parents work for families like mine. They don't become them. That's the natural order, and I won't let some idealistic dance teacher destroy what my ancestors built with their blood and sacrifice." Elena knew exactly who she was dealing with. Talia breathes, watching her college friend's face remain calm despite the threats being hurled at her. She went into this confrontation with her eyes wide open, knowing the risks. But the video's final revelation shakes them to their core, transforming their understanding of Damien's recent behavior and Kendra's ultimate plans. In the last segment, recorded the morning of her death, with obvious exhaustion and fear etched into every line of her face, Elena reveals something that explains everything. "I've discovered something even worse than the embezzlement and systematic racism, something that makes me understand why Kendra is so confident she can threaten my family without consequences," Elena says to the camera, her face pale but resolute. She's been drugging Damien. Small doses of anxiety medication mixed into his evening coffee for the past 8 months, just enough to make him emotionally dependent on her for stability and decision-making, without him realizing what's happening to his mind. "I found the prescription bottles hidden in her purse. lorazepam prescribed under a false name to a fake patient. She's been systematically undermining his judgment, making him more susceptible to her suggestions about my instability and Lena's need for professional help. She's been grooming him for 3 years, waiting for the right moment to assume legal control over his assets and his daughter. This isn't just about silencing me. It's about taking everything we've built. The 3 watchers exchange horrified glances. It explains so much. Damien's recent personality changes his increasing dependence on Kendra's opinions, his growing distance from his daughter's emotional needs, his inability to see what was happening right in front of him. I'm taking this evidence to FBI agent Maria Santos this afternoon. Elena continues in the video. Agent Santos specializes in corruption cases involving prominent families. She's been investigating the Ashcrofts for years, waiting for someone brave enough to come forward with evidence. If something happens to me before I can deliver this evidence, Agent Santos will know where to look for answers. And if my beautiful daughter ever finds this recording, know that Mama fought for a world where you could dance freely, where every child's dreams matter regardless of their family's bank account or the color of their skin. But as they watch, Talia notices something written in Elena's handwriting on the studio mirror, invisible until the camera's light hits it at the perfect angle. If something happens to me, check the old text messages. The V family wanted me gone. The text message Elena referenced, found on her old phone hidden in the studio, is chilling in its simplicity and brutal efficiency. Elena must disappear before she ruins everything we've built. The accident needs to look natural. Make it happen. It's signed with a simple V, the Ashcroft family's original surname before they anglicized it for American society. But they're not alone in the building. Heavy footsteps echo in the hallway above as Kendra arrives with her security team, having tracked them through the building's surveillance system. Her voice carries clearly through the old ventilation system. The child has become a significant liability to our timeline. Marcus Webb, Kendra's assistant, says with the casual tone of someone discussing weather rather than murder. And the dance teacher is asking too many questions, getting too close to information that should have died with Elena. Handle it quietly and efficiently, Kendra responds without a trace of her public sweetness. Make it look like a tragic accident. These old buildings have so many safety hazards: gas leaks, electrical fires, structural failures. The city will blame decades of deferred maintenance, and we'll be the grieving family members who tried so hard to help a troubled child and her misguided supporters. As they prepare to escape through Elena's secret laundry chute system, Lena makes a decision that surprises both her companions. She pulls out her phone and begins recording, pointing the camera toward the ventilation grate, where Kendra's voice continues to provide detailed instructions about their planned deaths. "What are you doing?" Jamal hisses, his teenage practicality warring with admiration for her courage. "What Mom would do," Lena replies with quiet determination that echoes Elena's fierce commitment to truth. Making sure the truth survives even if we don't. Through the grate, they can hear Kendra providing specific details about how to stage a gas explosion that will destroy the evidence while eliminating the witnesses. Every word is captured on Lena's phone as they disappear into the building's forgotten passages, carrying with them Elena's video evidence and their own documentation of conspiracy to commit murder. But Damien, racing through the night with his daughter's journal beside him and Elena's truth finally penetrating the fog of manipulation and medication, arrives at the building just as Kendra's plan begins to unfold. For the first time in 3 years, his mind is clear, his purpose focused, and his understanding complete. How do you fight someone who has spent generations perfecting the art of making problems disappear? 3 days later, the grand ballroom at the Plaza Hotel blazes with crystal chandeliers and the forced smiles of Manhattan's elite. But tonight, the atmosphere carries an undercurrent of tension that expensive champagne cannot dissolve. Despite everything that's happened, the mysterious disappearance of Damien's daughter, the whispered rumors about family troubles, the pointed questions from certain journalists who seem unusually well-informed, Kendra has insisted the engagement party proceed exactly as scheduled. "We mustn't let rumors and misunderstandings derail our happiness," she announced to the press just hours ago, painting herself as the devoted fiancée, standing courageously by her troubled future stepdaughter and grief-stricken fiancé. Love conquers all obstacles, and tonight we celebrate the future that Damien, Lena, and I will build together as a family. But Damien knows the truth now. Armed with Elena's evidence, his daughter's journal, and a clarity of mind he hasn't experienced in months, he's asked FBI agent Santos to let this final charade play out. Kendra needs to believe she's still in control, needs to feel safe enough to reveal her full intentions to a room full of witnesses whose testimony could prove invaluable in court. The ballroom fills with the same society figures who witnessed Lena's breakdown at the charity gala just weeks ago. Tonight they whisper about the poor child's treatment progress in Switzerland and marvel at Kendra's strength in standing by such a troubled family. The consensus among the privileged elite is that Kendra Ashcroft is practically a saint for taking on the responsibility of healing a damaged widower and his mentally unstable daughter. Damien takes the microphone at precisely 8:30 p.m. ostensibly to make his engagement speech as planned. The crowd settles into expectant silence, crystal glasses raised in preparation for a toast. But as he begins to speak about love and family and the importance of protecting those who cannot protect themselves, a small figure appears at the ballroom's main entrance. Lena, dressed in a simple white dress that Elena once wore to her own engagement party years ago, walks slowly down the center aisle between tables of startled society figures. The crowd falls silent, unsure whether this is part of the evening's carefully orchestrated program or another episode from The Troubled Child. "Dad, come," Lena says, her voice carrying clearly through the ballroom's perfect acoustics. "I need to tell everyone something very important about Mom, something that's been hidden for too long." Kendra moves quickly toward the stage, her smile strained but still in place for the cameras. "Darling, you should be resting in Switzerland. The doctors said you needed complete isolation from triggering environments. How did you even get here?" "Mom isn't gone," Lena interrupts, stepping onto the stage with the newfound confidence of someone who has finally found her voice. "She's still here with us. She's been dancing through me this whole time, trying to tell all of you the truth about what really happened to her." And then, as the ballroom watches in stunned silence, Lena begins to perform Mother's Echo. But this time she's not alone. Talia emerges from the crowd of servers and photographers, having gained access through her catering company connections. Then Jamal appears from behind the orchestra, having convinced the musicians to let him help with equipment setup. Together they join the dance with their own interpretations of Elena's choreography. The reaching arms, the heart embrace the strong steps forward. Each movement tells the story of a mother's love, transcending death, of truth that refuses to stay buried, no matter how much money and power try to silence it. As they dance, Lena speaks to the mesmerized crowd. "Mom knew someone wanted to hurt our family. She tried to protect us, but she was silenced before she could expose the truth. Tonight, her dance speaks for her and for all the children who've been silenced by people who think money makes them untouchable." The crowd is mesmerized, despite themselves moved by the raw beauty of the performance. Even the most cynical society figures find themselves leaning forward, drawn into the story being told through movement and music. But Kendra's carefully constructed mask finally begins to crack under the pressure. "Stop this nonsense immediately!" She hisses into her wireless microphone, forgetting in her panic that it's connected to the ballroom's sound system. Even that child is a stain on this family's reputation, just like her mother was. She's mentally ill, dangerous, completely unfit for decent society. The ballroom gasps as Kendra's words echo through the speakers, but she doesn't realize her private venom is being broadcast to 500 guests. Adrenaline and fury override her usual careful control. Elena was a threat that had to be eliminated. She continues, her voice rising with each word. She would have destroyed everything my family built over generations. Sometimes accidents have to be carefully arranged. Sometimes people who threaten the natural order have to be reminded of their place in the world. Unknown to Kendra, her assistant Marcus Webb has been recording everything on his phone, but not for her protection. He's been gathering evidence to blackmail her for months, and tonight he's made a deal with the FBI in exchange for immunity. As Kendra's confession echoes through the ballroom, speakers, Marcus steps forward and connects his phone to the sound system. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announces to the shocked crowd, "I've been recording Miss Ashcroft's private conversations for the past 6 months. What you just heard is only the beginning of her admissions." Kendra's own voice fills the ballroom with damning evidence that Marcus has been collecting her plans to permanently institutionalize Lena in a foreign facility. Her detailed admission of arranging Elena's accident, her cold calculations about eliminating anyone who threatened her control over Damien's fortune and social position. The recording includes her laughing about how easy it was to drug Damien into compliance, her racist comments about scholarship recipients who don't know their place, and her chilling statement that some people are born to serve families like mine, and others are born to be eliminated when they forget that fact. The ballroom erupts in chaos as 500 of Manhattan's most influential figures realize they've just witnessed a confession to murder. Society photographers who came to document an engagement instead capture Kendra's complete psychological breakdown as she realizes her own assistant, someone she trusted implicitly, has betrayed her with methodical precision. Security guards move to arrest her as she screams denials that no one believes her, perfectly applied makeup streaking down her face as she's led away in handcuffs, while cameras flash like lightning. But in the center of the chaos, something beautiful happens. Father and daughter find each other on the stage, and Damien joins Lena and Talia in the final movements of Mother's Echo. His steps are clumsy, unpracticed, but filled with 3 years of accumulated love and regret. As they move together, Elena's spirit seems to fill the space, her dreams finally given voice through the people who loved her most. Justice has finally found its voice, and Elena's dance will never be silenced again. The arrest at the Plaza Hotel becomes the scandal that defines a generation, a story that exposes how wealth and privilege have protected corruption for decades. Kendra Ashcroft, led away in handcuffs, while society cameras flash and cell phone videos go viral, represents the dramatic downfall of a family that believed money could silence truth forever. In the days and weeks that follow, Damien officially cancels not just the engagement, but every business relationship the Westbrook family ever had with the Ashcrofts. He turns all of Elena's evidence over to the FBI, cooperating fully with an investigation that grows larger every day as more victims come forward with their own stories of the Ashcroft family's systematic corruption. Kendra's empire crumbles like a house of cards in a hurricane. Investigators uncover decades of financial crimes, discrimination, and worse. Her family's charitable foundations are exposed as elaborate fronts for money laundering and excluding underprivileged children from opportunities they deserved. The Ashcroft name, once synonymous with cultural philanthropy, becomes a cautionary tale about how power corrupts and privilege protects predators. But the most painful revelation for Damien comes when he meets with his doctor to understand how completely he was manipulated. Blood tests reveal traces of the anxiety medication Kendra had been slipping into his coffee for months, carefully calculated doses that explain his clouded judgment, emotional dependence, and growing distance from his daughter's needs. The dosage was precisely calibrated. Dr. Martinez explains during their consultation. Just enough to make you compliant and dependent, not enough to be obvious or dangerous. She clearly researched this extensively. It's the work of someone who planned this manipulation for years. When Lena comes home for good, no longer threatened by custody transfers or Swiss boarding schools, father and daughter face the difficult but hopeful work of rebuilding their relationship. The apartment feels different now, lighter somehow, as if Elena's suppressed truth can finally breathe and grow. "I'm sorry I didn't listen to your dancing," Damien says one afternoon as they sit together in Elena's old practice space. "I was so afraid of feeling the pain again that I missed all the love you were trying to share." "You're listening now," Lena replies, her wisdom far beyond her 13 years. That's what Mom would say matters most. Talia helps them both learn Elena's language together, translating movements into emotions, gestures into healing. Damien is clumsy at first, his grief and guilt making every step feel foreign and uncertain. But with Lena's patient guidance and Talia's gentle instruction, he begins to understand what his wife was trying to preserve and pass on. But the real healing is just beginning to unfold. 6 months later, Echoes of Movement has transformed from Talia's small Brooklyn studio into a citywide network of healing that defies every expectation about art community and social change. What started as one woman's dream to teach neighborhood children that their stories matter has become 7 thriving locations across New York's 5 boroughs, funded by Damien's Westbrook Foundation and Elena's Memorial Fund. The waiting list for classes stretches 4 months, with children from every background imaginable learning that movement can heal what words cannot touch. Lena, now 13, and speaking with the clear voice her mother always knew she possessed, has become the program's youngest instructor and most powerful advocate. Every Saturday, she teaches Mother's Echo to children who've experienced loss, trauma, displacement, and systems that try to silence their voices. Her father attends every single class, not as the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company or a grief-stricken widower, but as a student learning to hear his daughter's profound wisdom. Today, we're going to dance our strongest memory. Lena tells her current class of 12 children, ranging from age 7 to 16, representing every neighborhood and family situation imaginable. Their weekly gathering has become legendary in the community. These kids who arrive carrying the weight of adult problems and leave moving like warriors and poets. Not the saddest memory, not the hardest one, but the one that makes you feel most connected to who you really are, most alive and hopeful. Jamal, now 17, and officially the studio's youth coordinator and community outreach director, helps demonstrate as Lena guides the children through Elena's choreography. But each child brings their own interpretation, their own story to the movements. Some reach toward memories of grandparents who sang lullabies in languages from across the world. Others hold close dreams of siblings serving overseas or parents who work multiple jobs to keep families together. And a few dance the hope of families yet to be found or reunited through immigration processes and foster care systems. "Look at Marcus," Talia whispers to Damien as they watch from the studio's observation area, voices soft with wonder at the transformation happening before their eyes. 3 months ago, he couldn't make eye contact with anyone for more than 2 seconds. Marcus, a 10-year-old, who came to them through the foster system after surviving neglect and emotional abuse, is performing Mother's Echo with movements that speak of watching his grandmother cook Sunday dinner in a kitchen filled with love, of sitting in her lap while she hummed gospel songs and taught him that love could survive anything the world threw at it. His reaching arms gather invisible melodies from the air around him. His grounded steps carry the rhythm of faith passed down through generations of survival and triumph. Elena would be so incredibly proud. Damien murmurs, his voice still catching when he speaks of his wife, but the tears that come now are different. Not the bitter salt of regret and guilt, but the sweet release of gratitude for love that continues to grow even beyond death. The Ashcroft trial concluded 2 weeks ago, with Kendra receiving a 15-year federal sentence for embezzlement, conspiracy, drugging without consent, and Elena's murder. The media coverage revealed the shocking scope of her family's corruption. Decades of systematically excluding children of color from arts programs, manipulating scholarship funds, and silencing anyone who threatened their control over New York's cultural institutions. But for Lena, the trial's end meant something more personal and healing than justice served. It meant she could finally put her mother's letters to rest, knowing Elena's voice had been heard and believed by the people who mattered. Miss Talia calls out Sophia, a shy 8-year-old, whose parents brought her after months of selective mutism following a family tragedy that left her feeling responsible for things far beyond her control. Can you show us the part where we dance gratitude? I want to thank my mom for bringing me here, and I want to thank you for teaching me that moving can help the hurt feelings. Talia steps into the circle with natural grace, her own movements flowing with the effortless beauty that first caught Elena's attention in their college modern dance class 20 years ago. Gratitude starts in the heart. She explains, demonstrating the gentle embrace motion that gathers invisible gifts from the universe around them. But it grows and multiplies when we share it with others who understand our language. The children follow her lead with the focused concentration of young artists, their small arms wrapping around invisible blessings, then extending outward to offer those gifts freely to anyone who needs them. In this moment, the studio fills with something transcendent, not just the beauty of coordinated movement, but the power of shared healing, collective transformation, hope made visible through bodies moving in harmony. That evening, after the children have gone home with their families, making plans for next week's class and sharing dreams for the community showcase they're planning, Damien makes a ceremonial gesture that's been months in the planning. He carefully tapes Lena's hand-drawn diagram of Mother's Echo to the wall of their apartment, not hidden away like something shameful, but displayed prominently where everyone can see it. The drawing shows each movement with Elena's loving annotations, outstretched arms labeled "Freedom to Dream," hands to heart marked "Compassion that Heals," strong steps forward representing courage that changes the world. This is Mom's real language, Lena says, watching her father honor the diagram like a sacred text. Every family should know how to speak it. Every child should know they have something important to say. Damien nods, understanding finally flooding through him like sunrise after the longest night. Then he looks toward the window where Talia is saying goodbye to the last students in the courtyard, below her laughter mixing with theirs as they practice moves they learned in class. He opens the window and calls down to her, his voice carrying across the evening air. "Talia, we need someone up here who truly understands this language." Talia looks up from the courtyard, sees the diagram taped proudly to the wall, sees father and daughter standing together in the space where Elena's dreams continue to live and grow. She smiles with the joy of someone who has found her true family and heads toward their building, knowing she's being invited not just to visit, but to become part of something eternal. This is how love multiplies when given room to grow and flourish. As the last notes of music fade and children gather their belongings with reluctant goodbyes, Lena walks to the large windows overlooking the street, where she first found courage to seek out Talia's help 6 months ago. The view has changed dramatically. New murals celebrating the neighborhood's diversity now cover walls that once displayed only graffiti and neglect, and a community garden blooms where an empty lot once collected trash and broken dreams. "Do you think Mom can see this?" she asks Talia quietly, her voice carrying wonder at how much beauty can grow from the ashes of tragedy. "I think your mom is this," Talia replies, gesturing to the room where children are hugging. Goodbye parents are scheduling carpools, and teenagers are volunteering to help with next month's community showcase. Every time someone finds their voice through dance, every time healing happens through art, every time a child learns their story matters. That's Elena dancing in the world. Damien joins them at the window, his arm settling naturally around his daughter's shoulders. The gesture would have been impossible 6 months ago, when his grief built walls instead of bridges, when his fear created distance instead of connection. Now it feels like coming home to a family that death could not destroy. "So what's next for us?" he asks, and for the first time in 3 years, the question carries excitement instead of fear, anticipation instead of dread. Lena smiles with her mother's grace and her own hard-won wisdom. "We keep dancing. We keep teaching. We keep proving that love is stronger than anything that tries to silence it.